I think we're going to slowly get going. I'm just going to explain a few things to everybody. A couple of the things I've done is I'm giving you permission to talk, but I'm keeping you muted. So please don't jump in all at once. But as we get to some questions, you can put up your hand and I'll give you an opportunity to ask your question, or you can type it in the question and answer, or you can just send it as a chat and we'll get to all your questions. Some of you don't have the opportunity to have your mics turned on because you have an older version of Zoom. So you might want to do an upgrade after we finish here. So you do have that opportunity. And it's going to take me a while to get through the list to do that. So I will work through it. But we will get started. First of all, we'd like to welcome today's guest, the current Canadian men's champion, Roman Sadovsky.
Thank you.
Roman, we're delighted to have you here. So thank you for spending the time.
Thank you.
Roman actually spent some time with our synchro skaters last week, and we had such a great chat. We thought we'd share it with everybody else. So first thing I want to do is, as I did, is talk about your video. And I'm not sure if everybody has seen Roman's video. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Grounded, and it's an amazing insight into how you're feeling about the current situation. So,
what was that last word you just said?
Let's talk about your video. What inspired you? And
I think boredom was probably the biggest part of the inspiration. So there was this random YouTuber that I sort of follow along with. And he opened up this, I guess, online contest, probably out of boredom also. And so he has these like sponsors that he works with because like he's got like almost 1 million subscribers. And so for one of the sponsors, he decided to give the money out to other people. I think the total was a $5,000 prize pool, but then it actually increased after he released the results. But that's beyond the point. He set out pretty vague. He sort of said, release a mini doc or a short film, 1 to 3 minutes long. And the theme is pandemic or how you're affected by it or whatever. And so I sort of just thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, I don't have much to do right now. And it was crunch time because for me, I'm not used to doing those kinds of like video projects, especially in such a short period of time. I think I had like 5 days. So everything that I shot outside took me about two whole days. And it's like, it's weird, right? Because I'm shooting myself. I have to like put the camera down on a tripod, then I have to like run out, pretend that I'm running, run back to the camera, review it, see if it looks okay. And then I'm like, it doesn't look good. So I gotta do the whole thing again. People on the streets probably thought I was a little bit crazy, but that's okay. And so I do the same thing over and over. I do the same thing. Imagine cycling, same thing. Set the camera down and then like bike up the hill, bike down, make sure no one steals my camera in the meantime. So it was that kind of process. It was a long time shooting it. I got my family, my brother's living with me right now. So I got him to shoot some stuff because unfortunately I can't really shoot moving shots. So I need just a few moving shots here and there. And I just sort of put it together. Took me about, I don't remember what estimate I gave you last time, but I'm going to say a total of maybe 30, 40 hours, probably total work, maybe, give or take, in those 5 days. So it was definitely a crunch time, but I think it was worth it. Never, had nothing much to do. So
I think it's an amazing video. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, just go to YouTube and search Roman Sadovsky and Grounded, and it's extremely inspirational. From when you did the video, which was several weeks ago now, a good month, have you changed any of your thoughts?
On the video or my thoughts on the situation? Or
your thoughts about the situation, because you were
I think it's way motivated. I'm way less motivated now than I was then. I'll tell you that. Like, it's some days are easier than others, but I'm like sort of getting to this point where I just like don't know like what, like there's no actual site, because you're not given a date. Everything is so vague. Before, I sort of felt like, at least for me, my rinks are saying they're going to be open after May 31st. But now I'm hearing things from other people. Your rink is closed till the end of June. Other people are saying also similar things. So like, I'm getting sort of discouraged because of that, because there's no clear date. If there's a clear date, it'd be like, okay, let's work on something. Let's go here. Let's train for this time period, and then sort of figure out a training plan. But right now, it's like, how long is this going to go? So I think that's the biggest thing.
So what are you doing to stay challenged or motivated? And how much structure, or just is it a free for all now? What are you doing to keep going?
As much structure as possible. And like I said, like last week with the sinker skaters, I'm not really a person that likes necessarily structure. I'm very like on the go, very like impulsive, especially in training and stuff. But when it comes to a situation like this, if I seriously let myself go, I will let myself go. I won't do anything. So I'm doing as much of a structure as I can. I have my morning cardio every other day. I have ballet classes here and there. Just trying to keep it, like shake it up, change the cardio from running to biking, all kinds of things. Doing off-ice jumps, whether it's in my backyard or on the streets, because my street's pretty empty. So
are you doing online classes? Are you doing everything on your own?
Well, I've sort of, thankfully, Tracy occupied me a little bit with classes with my club. So I'm actually doing like core classes, stretch classes with the usual kids that I work with in the club. And we're doing it completely like, voluntarily. And it's a good thing because I'm doing a core class. At least I have to keep up with them. You know what I mean? If not push them, they're pushing me in a way too. Because they're all like 12, 11 years old, but they're all like beasts. I swear to God, they don't break. So like doing core classes with them, like it's good that I have them there. Even though I'm teaching them in the way, it's actually coming back at me and it's actually forcing me to do the class, as opposed to if I didn't have a scheduled call or class in place, then maybe I wouldn't have done it, kind of thing.
So I want to go back to your cardio, because cardio is a tough thing to keep up off the ice. It's such a different cardio. So what sort of things are you doing to keep your cardio up?
Well, like a lot of the other national team athletes, we all go to Canadian Sport Institute, Ontario. And I'm sure a lot of athletes here also are aware of CSIO. So we do like fitness tests with them, and they sort of tell us weaknesses within our cardio and our VO2 max and our aerobic/anaerobic threshold and stuff like that, lactate levels, all this sciencey stuff. And so they sort of, if you just ask them, so I'm working with like Megan. So I don't know if you guys know Megan Buttle, Jeffrey Buttle's sister. By the way, she's a physiotherapist. So she works at CSIL, and I work with her sometimes. And I asked her, oh, can I get like a sort of a cardio program in place? But I got a long time ago. I don't even know if they're like active anymore right now. But a long time ago, I asked for like a program. And so she's like, yeah, sure. And she contacted the other people she knows within CSIO and sort of got some different cardio programs with different kinds of objectives. So one of them is like challenging, I don't remember what it's called, maybe like anaerobic maximum or something. I don't remember the actual like terminology, but different workouts for different things. So certain heart rate zones for certain periods of time, certain intervals. So there are all these kinds of workouts that I can play with, and sort of, it doesn't really matter what you do. So it doesn't matter if it's biking, doesn't matter if it's running. And actually, you know what? I tend to do it on the ice. So I actually do it practicing footwork, and I do those heart rate zones and try to target them. So regardless of what you're doing, as long as you're targeting those heart rate zones, you are working that cardio. So that's the most that I'm doing right now. I just want to let you know you're muted, so got none of that.
I had I'm dog sitting, and the dog was going crazy, so I had to mute. I'm not used to having a dog in the house. So that's good, physically staying connected and doing all that. What about socially? What are you like, missing people at the rink? And how's that?
100%. It's almost harder doing it online. I still feel disconnected, even though, like, for example, I'm doing this class. It still feels lonely in a way, right? So I spend probably way too much time right now on social media, on Instagram. Having a lot of calls. I'm calling a lot of people. And that's honestly the best you can do, I guess. Like, yeah. It sucks.
It's hard. It's hard.
It sucks.
Yeah. And I think one of the challenges we talked about too is when everybody finally gets to meet in person, and you want to go up and shake hands and high five and hug.
No,
and
I
you
know.
can't. It's you're going to see people.
I don't even know. I had this thought, like, how much it'll change people in general. But I sort of came to the conclusion that I don't think it'll change that much. I think over time it'll sort of disappear. I don't think we'll actually be like forever like germophobic and never shake hands. I think we'll get to the point where we'll be like, it's good. We got the vaccine. We got this. We're all good. But I think we will recover at some point, but I think it'll be a long time before we're very open socially. And I think in the skating world, everyone's very, very huggy, very like it's a very huggy community. So it's going to be a little jarring when you're going to like competitions and you're just like, hitting elbows or like knocking heels or whatever you're doing. So
it is going to change the landscape of what we're doing. Okay, so not the last thing, talking about your, staying in shape and all these things, I want to talk a little bit about your nutrition, because I think you like to cook, and I think breakfast is your favorite meal of the day.
I'll be honest, breakfast is the only thing I can cook.
Okay.
That's the extent. I mean, I experiment sometimes, but I really cannot brag. And I honestly, don't even quote me as a cook, please. Because you're setting these expectations for other people. No.
Actually, now I did know that cereal was one of your favorite foods. So.
Yes.
And your favorite cereal is?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yes. I think I have a coach or two that's their favorite.
Although I literally like never eat it. It's my favorite, but I like never eat it.
All right. So I saw a video of you posted on YouTube, and I think it was around like March 13th or 15th, and you were going into the rink to start work on your new programs for the season.
Right.
So how's that going?
It's not.
So and initially you were planning 2 new programs for the season. So
I still am. I don't know how I'm going to manage it, but we're still planning 2 new programs because I did my other 2 programs for 2 years already. I don't know. Maybe the world wants another Schindler's List for another year, but I don't know how I feel about it. Going into that, we sort of, David and I, we brainstormed music, and we were kind of sure about a piece, and now we're not really there. I was kind of sure we're going to choose that piece when we did it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, so don't even ask. And we were kind of sure, but then we decided, nah, it's okay. We're thinking of something else right now, so we have a different idea. We're going probably a different direction. But at this point, I have no idea. Let's say we go by end of June. Let's say early July. I'll probably need like a week maybe to sort of re-skate in a way before I start tackling programs and going full on that. So let's say maybe, plus I'm sure David's going to be overbooked once everyone starts going up again. Like, I don't know. I got to really clock in that real quick. But let's say ideally second week of July, I get a short done. Getting a hold of Mark is going to be harder since he's in BC. And we initially had him planned for somewhere in May. I don't remember the exact dates. I think it was early May, mid-May, somewhere in there. And so we had him organized to be around for maybe like 2 weeks. And because he's in Vancouver, the cost is kind of high. Unfortunately, flights to Vancouver from Toronto are literally comparable to flights to Europe. I don't understand how, but they are. And so we wanted to split up the cost because it gets very expensive very fast. And I am pretty well, for the most part, self-sustaining financially for my skating. So I wanted to split up the cost. So we sort of got together and tried to organize like how are we going to split the cost as much. So we organized, Mark organized a bunch of different clients within those 2 weeks that he was going to do my program. The plan was in place. Of course, that didn't go as planned. So getting a hold of him is going to be a really tough one. Plus the cost on top of that. That's the one I really like don't know. So we're going to play it by ear, but he's probably also going to be booked. So maybe it won't be as hard as I think to get a hold of him, because maybe he'll just come to the GTA and have like 40 programs to do. But let's say we finish all programming in July. That means we start running the programs August, like somewhat seriously. And when is the first? Well, when was Minto supposed to be?
Minto was in July. It's canceled. So within the next week or two, we should hear about the summer competition.
Okay, so let's say summer competition is when? Mid-August?
Middle August, yeah.
I would have just started doing my programs. What? So it's really, really weird. Like for me, I'm really used to starting really slow. So we like build up the program. We do parts. We try to polish up the choreography, because going from choreography and working with the choreographer and doing no jumps is one thing, and then putting it together is a complete other thing. And training with Tracy, she's very meticulous about details, right? Details. If anything's missing, she just like throws a fit. Like, no, you got to do it, right? So I'm sort of used to that sort of really meticulous sort of training. I'm not going to have time to do that. It's going to be, let's say summer competition is in August. Maybe we don't do it. I guess we have to plan out from there. Maybe we do just a short, right? These are kind of the decisions we're going to have to make. And basically, it's ready, set, go right off of August. I don't know what's going to happen with the Grand Prix series, but even then, I'm used to starting in May, building up slowly. Now we're going in August. So that's going to be
it's going to be a fast ramp up.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, because you're such an expressive, beautiful skater and interpretation of your programs.
Thank you.
How much, when you work with the choreographer, is it all them, or do you get in your own head and do some of the choreography or contribute to the program?
I think it depends on the choreographer. It's sort of like a collaboration kind of thing. So with for David, for example, I found that we sort of work together and we try things. And so he'll make a suggestion. Okay, Roman, try this. And so we do the movement. He'll be like, oh, no, don't do that. Right. So it's sort of experimentation with, I guess, my movement vocabulary and just sort of experimenting here and there to see what works. And maybe I'll throw in a suggestion. And sort of David and I, we just sort of have that workflow. We've done it for a few programs now. So we sort of understand each other. We know how it works. And we get through a program pretty fast. Like, I would say our short programs take 3 days. So we get there pretty quick. And for long program, Mark, he has a lot of planning going in beforehand. So, for example, let's say I have ice time with him. We'll both go on the ice at 12 o'clock, and then he'll have his headphones in, and he's by himself, like out in the corner of the ice, working by himself, imagining, I guess, what is in, like he's just creating this image of what he wants. And then he sort of takes the headphones off, then he comes up and he's like, oh, can you try this? And I swear sometimes he asks me to like try like a really simple move. And he's like, oh, okay. Puts the headphones back on, continues. And so he sort of generates these things. And then he's like, then he comes again. He's like, can you do this? Can you do this? And then all of a sudden we go. And it's just like, it just flows. Like everything just starts going really quick. And then all of a sudden half the program is done. You're like, whoa. And then he goes back and does the same thing on another session. So it's just a really different kind of workflow. I feel David and I are very like back and forth. Right. So we're sort of, I don't know what the best word would be, but it's just like A and B, just going back and forth. And we're generating ideas and we're going. Mark has a lot of planning beforehand and then he'll work. Right. So it's a little different. Mark needs to have like this idea. He needs to have the transitions thought out. And then I could say, okay, no, this feels really bad, or this is not going to work. Can I do this instead? Or let's have the right arm here instead. Right. So it's just a different kind of workflow. And I think it just depends on, honestly, every choreographer is different. Every person is different. So everyone's artistic flow is going to be a little different. I can't say I prefer one over the other. At the end of the day, we both get really good programs out of it. And that's what matters, right?
For those of you who don't know, it's Mark Pillay that Roman is talking
Probably
about.
should have mentioned that.
Yeah, that's okay. And have you ever had a program that you've worked on and it just has not come together, or it's just not worked?
Yeah. Okay. This is a weird one.
Okay.
I did have a program. I did a long program with David. This would have been Olympic year 2017-18 season. We worked on one program with David for a long program, and I liked it. Other people maybe necessarily didn't like it as much. Although I don't know, I still thought it was good. Like I reviewed that program. I'm like, it was still a pretty strong program. It could have improved. I could have probably done a better job now as opposed to 2017-18 season. But we still decided, okay, let's change the program up. Tracy was really adamant about it. She's like, oh, I don't think people like get the program or whatever. And I don't know if I completely agree with that, but it's okay, right? I think it's good that she gives me these suggestions, right? Because at the end of the day, it's easy to get tunnel vision when you work in a program because you invest so much time and there's a lot of hardship in a program, right? So whenever you're just like, change it, it's like, I don't want to. So I think it's good that she gave me that suggestion. And I used to skate to Les Mis when I was in like first year. So that's when we went back to Les Mis. Like we did the whole Olympic year throwback Les Mis thing. I still think the program I had was strong. It's just I had really weak marks for one competition. But I don't know if a sample size of one was enough. But again, the problem is the season is so short that it's like, let's make a decision. Let's just do it. So then that'd be the only time I ever remember, I guess, changing a program mid-season.
Do you have an all-time favorite program that you've had? All-time
favorite? No. I really can't choose a favorite. Just because, like I said before, every program I do is so invested. Every program I try to do has somewhat of a story in it. And I am in the program, if that makes sense. Like a part of me is in the program. That's how I see it. And I don't know, I can't choose a favorite. So whatever I'm performing in the moment, say you're watching me, I'm skating a show program. That show program that I'm doing is my favorite program in that moment. Because every program I invest so much time into, I put my heart into it completely. I never hold back out of a program, right? So whatever I'm performing at the moment, in that moment, that's my favorite. The next day it could be another program, so it doesn't matter.
I have to agree with you because when I watch you skate, I feel like you're a skater who doesn't have to project what you're doing because you're doing it and you draw me into you, and I'm sold. And I think I've told you this before. I think it was when you did Les Mis in 2014 at the summer competition for the first time, and that was when I was just like, you have something special, and every time you do a program, you're just amazing on the ice. And we actually have a question here because we want to talk to you about that too. Is your spins? You're such an amazing spinner.
Thank you.
And like, what do you? Oh, hold on, there's the dog. What do you do for your spins?
I mean, ever since I was young, I practiced so much on spins. And I think a lot of my role models growing up, Jeffrey was one of them. He was a good spinner. So that sort of inspired me to practice my spins. That's sort of number one. Like if you don't practice it, it's not going to like get better. It's the cold hard truth. But if you don't do it, it's not going to get better. Right? It just makes perfect sense. I practiced ever since I was young, spin, and worked very basic actually. So when I first came to Gregor and Tracy, they loved my spins, right? Because I was a good spinner, but they went down to like basic positions, basic camel, basic sit, and they wanted those to be completely clean before we started doing like variations. Because I remember I was like 7 years old or 6 years old. I'm trying to do pancakes and reverse stuff. So experimenting is good, right? So I'm not saying don't experiment, but you also need to remember there's this foundation you need to work off of. Because you might try all these variations, but if that foundation is not there, that extra variation is never going to go where it needs to go. So that was a big thing, was the foundation, and a huge part of it's time. I mean, like I see skaters, because I'm coaching now, and they're just some skaters that just don't put the time in. It's just so basic. It's just they don't put the time in. So that's number one. Just time, work on basics, and just invest your time in it.
So how much time do you spend on spins?
Right now, not as much. But you see, I can get away with it now because I have the levels. Let it be, right? So I'd say probably still roughly 15 minutes a day. I'd say that's a pretty safe estimate. I can't say I go more than 15 minutes a day. I have in the past. So we actually had in our club when I was in, I don't know, pre-Juve, we had spin patch.
Yes.
So we literally had 30 minutes on the ice. And if anyone caught you doing a jump, it'd be like a big no-go. So it was like, you have to spin. So they sort of forced us to spend 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes, I think it was 30 minutes a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then 15 minutes a day, Tuesday, Thursday. Still, that's a lot of time. If you clock in all those, it starts to add up real quick, as opposed to someone who does nothing and then just does the program, just the spins in the program, right? So it's not the same. And yeah, that's basically it. From in the past, I've worked a lot. Now I'd say work definitely a lot less.
But still work on them regularly.
Yes. If you don't spin after, oh my God, I can't even imagine when I get back how I'm going to feel spinning. Terrible. Because I don't know how to, I've seen those spinners online, but like I don't have one and I don't really know like if I want to get one, if I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, like if you don't spin for 2 or 3 months, you're going to be so dizzy and be so like, whoa. So I that's one thing I'm not looking forward to. But yeah.
Actually, that's a really good thing to note for skaters, is because the more time you spend away from the spins and your body adjusting to doing them, it has to readjust a little bit. So spinning might be a little bit more of a challenge with getting dizzy and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
then you got to practice doing a spin and then like reset, go do a quad, right? So it's like, it's different. So you can't, especially when you're doing programs. I understand if you're developing your program and you skip a spin and so you're working parts, that's fine. But if you're regularly like never doing spins in your program, that's not an accurate representation of what's going to happen, because it changes a lot.
It's going to be really important though when we start going back to training, is because everything is so short. You don't have time to just do this and just do this. You're going to have to, take some shortcuts and get everything all together. Okay, let's talk a little bit about jumping then.
Okay.
Because you also went through a growth.
A little bit.
How did that?
I went from the shortest to literally the tallest.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite Nick Nadeau's pretty tall. I'd say if we stood back to back, I'd say we're pretty similar. So maybe not I still think I'm probably taller.
But you started shorter too than Nick, I think.
I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So how did that whole growth and change in your body, how did that affect your jumping?
Well, it wasn't overnight, right? And it's I think some people imagine it like that. There are 2 ways from what I've observed of how people learn jumps. There are the skaters that learn everything up until they're like 13, 14, and then they sort of have to adjust. And then there are skaters that sort of learn as they grow. So there's these 2 kinds of skaters. There are other skaters who learn after they grow. I think Caitlin Osmond was pretty like later in the game when she sort of just plopped out everywhere, and all of a sudden she's just like killing everything, right? So everyone's a little different. For me, I learned up to triple Lutz when I was 13. Yeah, 13. I was doing my first junior Grand Prix year. And I didn't land my triple axel. Actually, no, I landed my triple axel when I was 14. And that's when I started growing a little bit. And consistency starts to go. And as you don't notice it right away, it's sort of like, for example, I think about how many clean programs I did when I was 13 every day. I'd say it was very consistent, like very consistent. When I was 13, I was like nonstop clean programs. And it's sort of like whenever I got to 14, I started missing 1 or 2 jumps per program. Maybe I'd have maybe only 2 clean programs per week. And I know it's not realistic to be perfect all the time, but at the same time, there was an impact no matter what. I was older, I was more experienced, therefore I should be in a way better. But there were certain things that were changing in my body that were changing my rhythm. So let's say 14, I landed my first triple axel, and I was landing it pretty well for 2 weeks. And that was it. I did not see my triple axel again for another year and a half, at least.
Wow.
Yeah. So just FYI, I landed my triple sal before my double axel, but I landed my triple axel before my sal. So it was sort of a really a tough time, I guess, growing through that. Consistency takes the biggest hit, and then the injuries start to come So the biggest objective was staying healthy. So staying lean, strong, getting rid of any weaknesses in my body, just to avoid anything from going too terribly wrong. You will get you will get injured. You will have some pain at some point, whether it's major or minor. It's just sort of how you, I guess, use the team around you to take care of those injuries. So I think we did a pretty good job, and I surrounded myself with a really good team that could get me there. And so Tracy was always like very encouraging, and she herself went through a really interesting like experience. 12 years old, Canadian champion. And then she sort of kind of fizzled off until she was 18 and then Canadian champion again. So she had some personal experience in that, in that way. So using that, I guess she gave pretty good advice to me, because I'm telling you, there'd be times where I'm doing a session and I'm just like in tears because it's just like not working. Because you're thinking about it, you're like, I'm 15. When I was 14, I was doing triple axel. When I was 13, I was doing clean programs every day. So it's kind of, you get into these weird mentalities, and it's just natural. It's going to happen no matter what you want. You always try to look up and you want to see that trend up. And whenever it's just like not going there, it's tough, right? So I definitely huge credit to my team that could get me through that. 15, I landed 16, I landed my quad sal for the first time. Still haven't seen that triple axel. It's still gone at 14. So I got the sal going. So that was encouraging. That was a big thing. I started landing it in the summer of 2016. And that was a big deal. Actually, no, was it 2015? 2015. I take that back. So I was 15 years old. Okay. And I would have been 16. 16. Summer of 2015. I was 16. It was a big thing. It was a big step that finally like, oh, I'm doing something. It was pretty consistent. It wasn't like, oh, I did it for 2 weeks and that was it, which I did have a little bit of a worry because of what happened with the triple axel. I'm like, oh my God, I have this sal now. What am I going to do in 2 weeks? But nothing really happened. It was pretty good. That was a big step for that season. And I tell you, putting a quad into a program changes the game completely. Like it's like completely different. Doing a program with triples is one thing. Once you put a quad in, it's like, whoa, like so much mental strength. And if you mess it up, then there's this a problem. And then I had a problem going to triple after doing quad, and it gets really weird. So the big step. Then finally in December of 2015, the axle started coming back. So it was sort of that period where I started getting stuff back, and I would still have these growth spurts here and there. So consistency wasn't ideal. Like you can look back at my records. Okay, I'd have great competitions and then ones that are really not worth mentioning. Yeah. So it was just all over. And I guess those good competitions were what I had to focus on to actually go through it. Because I figured, you know what, if I can do it sometimes, maybe it's one in like 10 tries, but I can't do it. So I just need to get those other 9 tries to be more similar to that one try. And that sort of little bit of hope is what sort of got me through that whole growing thing.
So you talked about having some bad or down days at the rink when emotionally and mentally it was a challenge and it was hard. Yeah. Did you ever feel like you wanted to just quit?
Not once. Not once. It's weird. It's almost like masochistic, I swear. Like I'm putting myself through so much hell, like emotionally, physically, but not once did I think, yo, this is it. Like I'm done. Not once. I like skating.
No, clearly you love skating. Okay, let's talk a little bit about competitions. So we have a question here from Kirsten. And she'd like to know how you went from a huge high of winning your first national title to having to mentally prepare for somewhat of a skate off at 4 continents for the World Championship
what a
spot
question.
2 weeks later. Yeah.
Wow. Kirsten's a journalist now. It was hard because it was like a really big, it's a big high. And I wouldn't even say it was just that weekend. It was the whole month going in. Other people, I mean, the spotlight was definitely going towards Nam and Keegan. And understandably, we have Nam, who is 2 times senior. Yeah, I think 2-time senior national champion. Keegan went to the Olympics, so there's all this attention there, and they have that friendship thing. And so all the spotlight is there. No, like ever since like national camp, we have our high performance camp. All the interviewers are asking them questions and stuff. I'm not getting much stuff. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, just wait. So I definitely had that goal in mind. I had that goal in mind last season. So I was already getting my head in the game last season, and so I had interesting season last season. Really good stuff. Some scary injury stuff, and going into the last month, I've never been training better. And I would have these moments on the ice going in where it's lots of dopamine. I don't know how to explain it, but when you're training and things are just happening, it's euphoric. It's the best word I can use. And I was trying my best to sort of keep that going into the competition, but not burn out for the competition. That was like a big thing for me, that I really had to like chill. Yes, I'm doing great, but like it's not the time to celebrate yet. So the whole month was super tough, just like keeping it low, right? You're still excited, but keeping it low. And then when it finally happened, I did the short. I wouldn't say I'm like thrilled about it. It was good, but it was nothing that, it wasn't what I did in practice. And I sort of expected it. I was putting my own kinds of pressure and stuff, whatever. I don't need to get into that. And the long, I finished it. I did pretty strong. I would say my skate at NHK was stronger overall. If you look at, like, I looked back at that performance. If you look at my reaction at the end, I'm pretty well like neutral after that long. And the reason was I just didn't know if it was enough. I knew it was good. I just had no idea, like, is that enough? Like, I knew it'd be like hard to beat. Like, they really had to give it to go for it. But I was just wondering, like, did I have to step out of those jumps? Like, it was just that kind of thought. So then, whatever, the results come out. It's epic, obviously. And everything is good. Everything I ever dreamed of happened. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going the world. Let's go. And so everyone is like, I think I met up with a bunch of skaters afterwards. Everyone's like, yeah, you're totally going. You're totally going. Everyone's convincing me that they're going the worlds. I'm convinced. Then I'm in the gala practice. And then Trent comes up to me and shows me what, like, to be decided during gala practice. I'm like, bro, what? So yeah, I was trying my best not to like get ahead of myself. But everyone around me is telling me, you're gonna go. I'm like, great. So if it was up to them, I would be going, but unfortunately, it wasn't. Going home afterwards, thankfully, was not a commute at all. No travel, so I had that definitely easy. Very easy. It was in Mississauga. I live literally 20 minutes away. So that was really good. I think if you added travel to that, it'd be way more difficult. Going home, I'd say training, we had a week and a half, 2 weeks or something. So you take a day off, 2 days off, give or take a week and a half or 2 weeks. I don't completely remember. But it was hard. Like, I'd say I was still training strong. And I definitely still had that fight, like, to go to Worlds. And so, but it was different. It was different knowing, like, it's one thing doing it once, and then you're like, you got to do the same thing again. So I'm like, oh no, like, I don't have that whole month going in. So going into Korea, I felt pretty strong, but I think I just broke in the short program. That set me off completely. My first combo, that's quad style triple toe, my first jumping pass, the takeoff just went wrong. It was just bad. Like, practices in Korea were great too. And it was just that one takeoff, that outlier, that anomaly, that sort of just went weird, and I can't pull into it. It was like completely impossible. Double sow. It's like 15, 16, 18 points, gone, instant. And I was so just like, after that, so shook, because it was such a reliable thing for me. Like, sometimes I wouldn't do the triple toe. I do a quad sow, and if I don't feel right, okay, I won't do the triple toe. But to do a double sow, I don't remember the last time I did an opening jump and popped it like that. I don't remember the last time I did that. It was just like, whoa. And I just couldn't bring it back. For the second jumping pass, I fell on the axle. But I think everything just boiled down to that first jump. And it was just too much for me at that moment. Having to do that double sow was way too much for me mentally to bring it back, because at that point you're already thinking, world is gone. Like, it's gone. But now that I think back at it, I don't know how bad I would feel, if I made it to Worlds, I went through all that and then it went canceled. So I don't know which I prefer at this point. I think it'd be really cool to get named to the team at least. So that's sort of the worst part in it. But I can't imagine how I feel afterwards dealing with that disappointment. But yeah, I'd say I did not handle it well. What was the actual question? I totally went off topic.
How did you prepare yourself?
Right. Kirsten,
mentally.
I didn't. No, I lots of napping through the week. But it was really hard. It's definitely a completely new experience. I'd never had anything like that. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm not trying to say, it was difficult, I couldn't do it. It was just like, it was different. It definitely hits different. If I did that first combo, I think, honestly, I would have done way better throughout the short and would have done way better long also. But it is what it is now.
And we will never know. I want to talk a bit more about competitions and not necessarily that one, but you did quite a few junior Grand Prix and junior worlds and international experience. What was the difference going from junior internationals to senior internationals? Or was there one?
I think this might be weird, but I feel like senior internationals are more casual. It's really weird, I know, but this is my take on it. Everyone who's going to junior internationals, a lot of people, it's their first international. So there's this big deal, there's this big fuss. Oh, it's an international competition. Oh, look at all these skaters. Oh, look at these Russians. Oh, look at these Japanese. They're so good. There's so much of this like hype going into it. And you're like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm an international skater now. Once you go into senior, everyone more or less knows each other. Everyone sort of has seen each other in the past competitions, whether it's junior or now senior. And it's just so routine. I don't know. It just seems so routine. It's like, oh, okay. It's literally like a workplace. It's like another day at the office. And so that's why I feel it's more casual in that sense, where it's just sort of like, it's a routine. Every year there's the same Grand Prix season. Of course, we all try our best. We're all nervous. We're all trying our best. But overall, I'd say it's pretty casual. My transition, I had a long junior career. I maxed out. Went from 13 to 19. I maxed out. I did. I don't even know how many junior Grand Prix. I had 2 junior Grand Prix every year. I went to 2 finals. I maxed out the junior as much as possible. I did 2 or 3 junior worlds. I don't remember. I think 2. Anyway, I did a youth Olympics in junior. So I had so much junior experience. It wasn't that big, honestly. I went to senior because a lot of people I already competed with. So it was like we all just went here and we went to there. Yeah, there were some new faces and it was cool. Oh, we're competing with Shoma. Or actually, no, you know what? I competed with Shoma when I was 13. So that's not a good representation. Let's say, oh, there's Yuzu. Oh, there's Jason Brown. So there's these names that sort of make it cooler in a way that you're competing against them. But I wouldn't say my jump was very big from junior to senior.
Did you have favorite skaters that you watched or wanted to be like period? When you were growing up?
Okay, growing up. Jeffrey Bottle, big one. Honestly, that Torino Olympics was really good. Like it was pretty good in general. Stefan Lambiel, his spins were awesome. I think definitely growing up, the biggest was Jeffrey, probably because he was Canadian. I mean, bias is bias, but he did good stuff. I would say he was pretty good on the ice. He can move. I think that was the biggest thing is he had the package, I feel. Maybe he wasn't doing quad lutzes, but he had the full thing. He had the jumps, he had the spins, he had everything. Everything was coming together, and that's why he's a world champion. So that was the biggest thing. And him being Canadian, I guess, definitely made him my favorite at the time. And I was very, very, very upset when Patrick beat him that one year at Nationals. But that's okay.
Is there anybody when you go to these competitions and you get out onto practice or even in the venue and the event, are there any skaters that you're kind of in awe of, or you're still amazed at watching them?
Yeah. Hughes is an interesting kid. I call him a kid. He's older than me, but he's pretty interesting when he goes on the ice and all of a sudden rips off quads within the first 3 minutes of practice. You're just like, oh my God, what are you doing? But yeah, he's definitely he stands out the most to me, 100%. And I don't know if it's just he has a presence on the ice. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's because he went on the ice and did quads within 3 minutes. I don't know if that's a contributing factor or not, but something when he skates, it's just, there's a certain energy. And he also brings an energy around.
Yes.
So if you're doing a practice and you've got majority Japanese fans, the energy's there. Unfortunately, it's only with him and not with anyone else. But it's really, really there. I remember doing an Autumn Classic one time. He unzips his jacket to reveal his costume. It's like he redefined the sport of figure skating. It's like crazy. But yeah, I think even when he skates, he has a certain type of glide, a certain style that's like hypnotic. I don't even know, like very mesmerizing, very smooth, very light. I mean, I bet he weighs like 140 pounds, but like, yes, very light, very good knees, very soft. And everything is so refined. Even if he falls, it's like, I don't know, he falls good. I can't explain it, but he just has this quality. He's probably the person that stands out the most out of anyone that I've practiced with lately. But to be honest, fortunately or unfortunately, he's been at most of my events recently. So
yeah. Okay, we have some questions here we should get to and answer. An anonymous submission. Can you suggest some fun, creative on-ice warm-up exercises that would work for star skate or competitive skaters? Do you have any favorite exercises you like to do?
Fun and creative. I wouldn't say any of my exercises are fun or creative, but if I were to generate one, a soccer ball, I've seen that a lot. I've seen that really common off the ice, keep ups kind of thing between two people. That's really common. There's this little, Kirsten, I think you can fill me in on this, but I think I saw Mike and Trent. They have this little frisbee disc thing that they bring everywhere. And like,
yes, you're right. It's a zip chip, I believe it's called. Yeah.
Okay, it's called a zip chip. So it's this like little, it looks like a little puck / mini frisbee, and you sort of throw it and you sort of catch it. Whatever, it's a game of
Mike
catch.
is here, I believe, so he could maybe answer the question for you.
Okay, so that's the one, the zip chip. Yeah. Anyway, I bet that's pretty fun to do off the ice. You just sort of a game of catch. You know, it could be anything, a baseball, tennis ball. But I swear, Mike and Trent, they carry that thing everywhere. We're like in a subway station in Korea, and they're still zip chipping. And I'm just like embarrassed because of them, but whatever.
Okay, what about on ice? What are some of your favorite on ice exercises to do when you get on to warm up?
I already have pre-planned stroking exercises that I have. I don't know if you know Vesna, but I work with Vesna a lot. She does a lot of our stroking in our club. So I already have these stroking plans that we sort of figured out before. I do those a lot. And so I guess when we generated those stroking patterns, the whole idea was like show off your skating in those 3 laps. So you step on the ice, you do 1 or 2 stroking patterns. The whole idea was you got to look good. So every time now I step on, I'm like, I'm going to look good. And that's looking good is fun. That's all I can say.
That's actually great advice. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're looking good while you're doing it.
And if you feel good, it's fun. Make yourself feel good. If you feel good, that's all that matters.
Okay, if you had to skate in another discipline, what would it be and why?
That's such a terrible question. I don't really know. I think pairs is such a different training regime. I don't know if I want to get into that whole upper body field. That's where the laziness comes in. I don't like being responsible for someone else. That's a big thing. I do like jumping though. So I'd probably have to say pairs because of the jumping. But I don't know. Being responsible for someone and the extra like chin ups, push ups is a no-go for me.
Well, I am going to tell you that I actually have seen you on the ice with a hockey stick, so I'm not sure that's in the future. No offense.
Yeah.
Your short film was very professional. This is from Raphael. Very professional. Would you consider being a director or cinematographer after you finished with your skating career?
I don't know. Like, yes and no. Like, it does intrigue me, but at the same time, I think it's so hard to find a job in that field that it becomes very intimidating in that respect. So yes, it'd be interesting, but I don't know how successful I'd be. That's the only thing. That's the biggest thing turning me off. Put it that way.
Have you have any desire to go to school to learn professionally how to do it more? Or
The funny thing is, film is one of those things that if you look at a lot of people's resume, they have no background in film at all. So it's sometimes it's one of those things where people are like educated in political science, and all of a sudden they're directors of a film, right? So it's kind of like it's one of those things that you can go to school for, but not absolutely necessary. So honestly, if I chose a school program, that's probably what I would do purely out of interest, because I don't really want to go to do a school program that I'm not interested in, because then it just becomes really tedious. So that'd be the most likely that I'd go into. Yes. Whether I will, questionable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show?
Friends. Easy.
Hands
Done.
down.
Put in the books. It's over.
Have you been watching it or binging any of it while you've been off?
You know what I do is I fire up YouTube, and it's just like scenes, and it's like sometimes it plays like an hour's worth of best scenes of Friends or whatever, and so that's sort of what I go with. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but I've rewatched it probably a total of 6 times.
Okay. I just want to go back to skating for a little bit. One of the things I meant to ask you your thoughts about was we've seen some pretty remarkable jumping coming from some of the young female skaters now, specifically Russians. What are your thoughts when you see that? Or
okay, I know I said I never thought about quitting skating, but that is like the leading push into that thought right now. I mean, I think it's great. I hope they're doing it in the safest way possible. Okay, if they're doing it in a very safe and healthy way, which I don't know if they are, but if they're doing it in a safe, healthy way and they're happy about it, then I think it's fantastic. Push the sport forward. Like push it as hard as you can, as long as you sort of there's a fine line, but if you can try to maintain like a good, safe, healthy training environment while you're doing it, I think it's fine. I think it's very good, actually. Very, very healthy for the sport.
It's making it very exciting.
Yeah.
It's certainly putting a different perspective on it for so many different reasons. We'll see how they do after the layoff, if they've had a layoff. And
I've been thinking about that. I was like, can you imagine? I can't imagine if I was 14 and didn't skate for 2 months and then grew. Whoa. But anyway, that's going to be a big one.
Interesting. Okay, so big day coming up, May 31st, because, well, not a big day anymore because it looks like BTS won't be here.
No. Unbelievable. You know what? They postponed the concert, but I think Toronto officially said they're canceling all large gatherings until I don't even remember, September or something. So I have no idea how they plan to do anything, but as of right now, it's postponed. But they're going to cancel it.
Roman is a big BTS fan, but that concert was also going to be the day of your birthday, which will still happen.
Yeah.
So
the birthday will still happen, just not as
it will still happen.
Could have been.
And we don't seem to have any more questions. I don't know. I think you've just, Roman, you have shared so much information with us. You have been so honest.
I hope I sometimes, honestly, I just start talking and I'm somewhere else. So I hope I stayed on track, more or less, for you guys. I tried my best.
How old are you going to be on your birthday?
21.
21.
So I'll be officially legal in the States. I don't intend on going there right now.
Yeah.
But I am. I'm legal.
Well, Roman, thank you so much for doing this. And we were also talking about, maybe taking a technology holiday this weekend. So I hope you do get some time off, but I hope you stay busy and active and work on your cardio. And we look forward to seeing you next season with your new program. So good luck with everything. And thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys. See ya. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Join us next week when we're going to have another very special guest. Bye for now.